Hey, what's up guys, OSJ back with the next episode of the Commodore 64 years. We've reached 1987 and honestly this is where things start getting ridiculous in a good way. By now the Commodore 64 was absolutely everywhere. Developers knew the machine inside out. Publishers were throwing serious money at projects and we were seeing games that didn't just play well, they felt ambitious. Big worlds, big ideas and some of the most recognisable C64 titles ever made. As I said in the last couple of videos, from this point on we're sticking with 20 games per year because trimming these lists any further would just be painful. So let's get into it, counting down the 20 best Commodore 64 games of 1987 in order of greatness. Kicking us off is the Detective game, a title that leaned heavily into atmosphere rather than action. It's slow, methodical, and very much about reading, thinking, and piecing things together. Not for everyone, but if you were into mysteries and wanted something a bit different from the usual arcade fare, this definitely stood out. At 19 we've got Barbarian. Simple, brutal and instantly memorable, largely thanks to those infamous decapitations and Maria Whittaker on the front. It wasn't the deepest fighting game, but it was fast, accessible and absolutely screamed late 80s home computing access. Everyone remembers this one, whether they played it properly or not. Next up is Buggy Boy, one of the most impressive arcade conversions on the C64. The sense of speed and huge tracks and the rolling hills were incredibly ambitious for the hardware. It wasn't perfect, but it showed just how far the machine could be pushed by 1987. At 17th, it's Skate or Die, a multi-event sport game that really captured the arcade vibe. It had personality, variety and that classic EA polish. Some events worked better than others, but as a package it felt modern and energetic, and it fit perfectly into the late 80s skate culture boom. At 16th we've got Platoon. Now this one's personal for me, as it was the very first game I ever played, so I'll be honest, I'd love to put this higher. But this list isn't about nostalgia bias, it's about the overall strength of the year. That said, Platoon nailed the atmosphere. It felt tense, grim and very different to the usual gung-ho shooters. It left a massive impression on a lot of players, myself included. Number 15 is Train, Escape to Normandy. A clever mix of stealth, strategy and action. It required patience and planning rather than reflexes, which made it stand out. Accolade were really good at these slightly offbeat concepts, and this is a solid example of that. At 14th we've got California Games. Surfing, BMX, hacky sack, this was pure epics magic. Like summer games before it, the variety kept people coming back and it was endlessly playable with friends. It might not have been the deepest sports game, but it was one of the most fun. At 13th is Airborne Ranger, a serious tactical action game that felt very grown up at the time. Planning missions, choosing equipment and dealing with the consequences gave it a depth that most action games didn't have. Classic microprose, thoughtful, challenging and uncompromising. At 12th is Whizball, one of the most original games on the C64. You start with limited abilities and slowly regain colour and control as you play. It was weird, creative and very British in its design philosophy. Whizball didn't explain much, it expected you to learn by playing. Just missing out on the top 10 is Revs Plus, a hardcore racing simulator that demanded patience. This wasn't an arcade racer, it was about precision, realism and mastering tracks. For players willing to put the time in, it was hugely rewarding. Cracking into the top 10 is The Last Ninja. Stunning presentation, iconic music and unique isometric perspective made this an instant classic. It wasn't always easy and sometimes it was downright punishing, but it was ambitious, stylish and unforgettable. At 9 is the Great Guyana Sisters. Love it or hate it, this game made waves. Yes, it was heavily inspired by Mario, but it played brilliantly, sounded fantastic and pushed the C64 hard. It remains one of the system's most talked about platformers. At 8 we've got World Class Leaderboard, a golf game that redefined the genre on home computers. The sense of realism, the course design and presentation were leagues ahead of most sports titles. This one had serious longevity. Number 7 is Project Stealth Fighter. Complex, detailed and unapologetically deep, this was microprose at full power. It wasn't easy to get into, but once it clicked, it offered an experience few other C64 games could match. At 6 is Legacy of Ancients, a deep and often unforgiving RPG. Massive worlds, cryptic puzzles and a real sense of scale made this a standout title for fans of serious role-playing games. Not casual at all, but hugely respected. At 5 we've got Defender of the Crown, a game that looked absolutely jaw-dropping in 1987. Cinemaware's cinematic approach paid off here. Big visuals, dramatic music and a strong sense of atmosphere. It felt like something from the future, even though we were playing in medieval times. At 4 is Bobble, one of the greatest arcade conversions of the era. Tight controls, brilliant co-op play and endless charm. This was the sort of game that stayed in rotation for years, especially with friends. At 3 is Maniac Mansion, a revolutionary adventure game with multiple characters, branching paths and real humour. Lucasfilm Games completely changed the expectations with this one and it's still a joy to play today. Runner-up is IK Plus, and yes, just like International Karate in the previous video, it almost takes the top spot again. Faster, smoother and more refined, IK Plus perfected the formula. It's funny how karate games keep getting close to number 1, but never quite make it. And now at number 1 is Pirates. Open-ended, endlessly replayable, and completely unique. Trading, ship battles, exploration, politics, it did everything. Pirates wasn't just a great C64 game, it's one of the greatest games of the decade, full stop, and well deserved number 1 for 1987. And that wraps up 1987, a phenomenal year for the C64. Big ideas, iconic franchises and games that people are still playing today. If you're enjoying this series, make sure you like and subscribe and share it around. Next time we will move into 1988 and trust me, the quality doesn't drop off at all. If you would like to support the channel like these great guys going up the screen right now, get on over to my Patreon channel where you can pledge for as little as $1. I will get you perks like your name in the C64 crack drawer, end credits, video requests, giveaways and more in the future. Till next time, this is OSG signing out.